Hi, Snigdh here. Let's start off by taking a quick tour of the Maya interface. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of buttons here, but if we break it down into its component parts, you'll find that it's actually fairly easy to navigate into Maya. Now, like with any other application, you do have a menu bar along the top. So, the menu bar here is basically divided into two sections. Okay, the first part being from the file menu, and it goes all the way up to the Windows menu. Okay, and this actually is divided for a reason, because uh, all the menus after the Windows section change as and when you change the menu set. Now when I say menu set, I mean these. So these are the menu sets. So when I'm into the modeling section, I would have mesh, edit mesh, mesh tools, etc. But as soon as I switch it to the rigging menu set, you would see that there are different options that come up. Similarly for animation, FX, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, if we look here on this in this area, what you would see is that there are some shortcuts, some hotkeys, and this is for opening a new document. This is for saving, for undo, for redo. Here in this area, you would find that there are some hidden menus as well. So if you click on these arrows, you can start off by revealing some of the other options. So for example, these are some snapping options. So just like we used to have in Flash, we have snapping options available here as well. If we move towards the right, you have some more options here, which are the rendering options. Okay, so moving on, here we have something known as a workspace. So if you open up the workspace section, what you would find is that there are different workspaces like Maya Classic, modeling, sculpting, UV editing. Then you have something for XGen, rigging, animation, rendering, Mesh, motion graphics, Bitfrost, Bifrost, I'm sorry, fluids. So these are some default workspaces which are already present when you open up Maya by default. And you can actually create your own workspace also and then save that out for later use. Okay. Now, just below that, if you would see that, then you will find that there is a sign in option. So this is going to allow me to get inside the Autodesk community. Here, you would find that there are some different buttons which are going to activate what happens here in this section. So, for example, if I click here, you have something known as a modeling toolkit. And this is basically a toolkit for the modeling artists. If I click on this, you would find that it says tool settings, and whatever tool we are working with, tool settings is something that is going to allow you to edit different settings of the tool, of the particular tool. Then this is something known as an attribute editor. So whenever I click something, there are a lot of other options connected to that particular object. So if I've, let's say for example, I've selected this receiver of the telephone, and all the options connected to this are coming up here, right? So a little more deep, a place to edit the different aspects of a model. Then this is something known as for character animation. This is a human IK system where basically you use it for rigging the characters. I'm sorry. And then again back to modeling toolkit. Okay, and then if you just click on it once, it will go away. You can open up the attribute editor or any of these tabs just by clicking on it once. Okay, and then you have a very commonly known area, and this is something that you're going to access very often when you're working in Maya. This is known as the channel box or the layer editor. So that's the channel box and this is the layer editor. Okay, that's why there's a oblique between the two letters. Okay, down here at the bottom, this is the timeline area. Okay, so whenever we are animating something, we need a timeline, and just like many other applications or the video editing applications or the animation applications, you would find a timeline here as well. And when there is a timeline, there is a range slider also. So this is supposed to give you the ability to zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so after the range slider, what we have here, this is the range section that you can actually input manually. So if I'm increasing or decreasing this, you can see that the numbers are changing here and similarly here as well. Okay, down below on the right side, these are the playback controls for the animation. Now below here, this is the Mel command area where we are actually going to type in some codes. So Mel is basically Maya embedded language, which is basically based on Python, and we are not really going to get into that right now. Later on, we may get into it. And just below it, this is the help section. So what happens is whenever you hover over any of the icons, you can see that there is a small tip that comes up here, and it's going to tell you what that particular icon does. So this is a sphere, so it says Polygon Sphere, creates a polygon sphere on the grid, then create a polygon cube on the grid, etc., so on and so on. Now on the left side, extreme left, this is the section where in the upper half you would find some of the selection tools. So that's the selection arrow, the very famous black arrow or the white arrow from Illustrator, black arrow from Photoshop. This is the Lasso selection tool, which actually helps us to create a freehand lasso and make our selections just like that. And this is the paint selection tool, which we're going to get into a little later. Then just below them are our translation tools. So this is going to help us in translating the object in the 3 axis. Okay, this is for rotation, and similarly this is for scaling. Now just below that are our viewports. So this is the default perspective viewport which we are looking at right now, and if you go just next to it, these are the 4 viewports. So if I click on it, I would have 4 viewports lined up. So the top view, the front view, the side view, and the perspective view. These are also known as the orthographic viewports, and you can actually come here back to the same perspective viewport just by clicking on it. Then below it you would find, then this is a 2 viewport layout where you're getting a front viewport and a perspective viewport. I'll go back to it. Now just the 4th icon here is for the outliner. So outliner is basically going to help you in making your selections when there's a lot of geometry in your scene. So if you just open up the outliner, you would find everything that's available in your scene. Everything is going to be listed here. So phone base, phone setting section, then you have the phone receiver itself, the dial center, and these are your camera views which are available there, which we just looked at, the default light set and the default object set. So whenever I'm going to create anything in this space, in this area, that is automatically going to get listed here. So it's easier for me to make some selections, find them out. So that's the basic overview of the interface, how the interface is lined up. And another thing is that you have these tabs over here. So these tabs are nothing but sort of shortcuts or easy ways to access the same things which are there which are available here in the menu sets above. So let's say if I'm going to create something like a cube here, I can do it from here, and I can as well do it from the create section and go into the polygon modeling. So this is poly modeling, and then you have polygon primitives here. So you would find a cube here as well. So this is how basically the whole interface is laid out, and this is how where this is where the things are basically in Maya. So first I'll start off by showing you how to set your project. Okay, so here we go. So let's say on my desktop I am going to create a master folder which is going to contain all of my 3D projects. So I'll name this as the main directory, like 3D projects. And inside this, I'm going to create another subfolder which is going to have everything related to Maya. Okay. So yeah. And then I'll come down in Maya again, come down to the file menu, head to the project window first, and here go to the edit and say reset settings. This is really important because you might have some other settings here, so you might want to reset them. And I'm going to say new, and this is basically the the name of your project. Okay, and there could be multiple projects here, so I would say cup and saucer project, because that could be one name, or let's say for today's class it's going to be chair project. Come down to the location, and I'm going to head to the same location here and say select. So that's where my project is going to get saved. Okay, and here I can just say accept. So now if we just go back and check, we'll find inside 3D projects, inside Maya, I have another folder called chair, and I have a whole list of different folders which will contain uh, different things, different file formats which are going to be churned out from Maya. Okay, so that's how you create a project. And then now the next step would be to come to the next option which says set project, and I'm just going to come here and select this option and say set. So what happens is that it's going to directly point to that location, and when, let's say if I'm going to say save scene, one second, just go to set project once again and then just double click on it and say set. And now if I'm going to go to file and say save scene, it's going to take me directly inside the location here, and I'm going to save it in my scenes folder, chair version 01. Okay, and just say save. Okay, so that's how basically you set up your project. And now next time if I'm just going to say save scene as, it's going to directly take me to that location. So this is basically how you set a project.